You maxed out your 401k last year. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. And somewhere between your brokerage statement and your bathroom mirror, you felt it. That quiet dread that you're winning a game you didn't agree to play. That feeling is not anxiety. That's clarity. Here's what nobody says out loud: a full 401k and a full life are not the same thing. The system sells them as interchangeable. They are not. One is a number on a screen that you cannot touch until you're 59 and a half. The other is Tuesday at 2 p.m. on a random October, deciding whether to go to your kid's soccer game or stay for the third meeting that could have been an email. One of those is real. One of those is projected. The conventional advice sounds airtight. Max your contributions, hit the match, diversify, stay calm when it drops, let time do the heavy lifting, don't touch it. Whatever you do, do not touch it. The people who say this aren't lying. The math checks out. Compound interest is real. Tax deferral is real. The employer match, at least the vested portion, is real money. What the advice never asks is, what is it costing you to obey it? Not in fees, not in tax exposure, in years, in decisions you never got to make, because the capital that would have funded them was locked inside an account that penalizes you 10% plus taxes. If you need it before the system says you're ready, think about what that actually means. Your financial runway, the number of months you could live without a paycheck, is one of the most honest measures of freedom that exists. Most high earners have almost none. Strong 401k balance, thin runway. They look wealthy on paper, and they can't take 3 months off without panic. They can't walk away from a job that's slowly grinding them down. They can't say no. That's not financial security. That's a very sophisticated cage. If you're tired of the sophisticated cage, you're in the right place. Subscribe to join the conversation on real financial autonomy. The 401k wasn't designed to cage anyone. That's important to say clearly, but it was designed to solve a problem that wasn't yours. In 1978, Congress passed the Revenue Act, and buried inside, it was a provision, Section 401k, that allowed workers to defer a portion of their salary into an investment account before taxes. The original intent was narrow: a supplement for high-income executives who'd already maxed out pension contributions. It wasn't supposed to replace pensions, it was a side instrument. Then came the 1980s. Corporations were drowning in pension obligations. Defined benefit plans, the kind where the company promises you a specific monthly check for life, required long-term funding, actuarial management, and sat as permanent liabilities on balance sheets. When markets got volatile and interest rates swung, those liabilities became unpredictable. Shareholders didn't like unpredictable, so companies started closing pensions and opening 401k plans instead. By the late 1980s and through the 1990s, the shift accelerated. Today, private sector pension coverage has dropped from roughly 38% of workers in 1980 to under 15%. The 401k, a supplemental tool, became the entire infrastructure. The mechanics of what changed are worth sitting with. Under a pension, your employer absorbed the investment risk. If the market crashed 2 years before you retired, that was the company's actuarial problem to solve. You got your check. Under a 401k, the company's obligation ends the day they make their contribution. What the market does after that, whether you retire in a bull run or a collapse, whether inflation guts your purchasing power at 68, none of that touches them. All of it lands on you. They didn't remove the risk. They handed it across the table and called it ownership. And then they wrapped the whole thing in the language of empowerment. You're in control of your retirement now. You have flexibility, you have investment choice. That choice, by the way, is usually between 12 to 20 funds pre selected by your HR department based on administrative relationships, not on what delivers you the best net return. But yes, choice. The fee structure is where the transfer of value becomes mathematical. Most workers never read an expense ratio. They see Fidelity or Vanguard on a form and assume they're fine. Some are, many aren't. The difference between a plan charging 0.5% annually and one charging 1.5% is not a rounding error. On a $200,000 balance over 20 years, that gap compounds into six figures. It's not your fault for not knowing, it's your employer's plan. You got the menu they chose, and they didn't choose it for you. Meet two people. Call them David and Marcus. Same age, same starting salary at 35, $90,000 a year. Both contribute 10% to their 401k. Both get a 4% employer match. Same career length. They both work until 65. David is in a low-cost plan. Total fees around 0.4%. He invests in index funds. His employer is stable. He never moves jobs. Marcus changes jobs twice, at 39 and at 47. Both times he's mid-vest. The first time he walks away from $8,000 in unvested match money. The second time, $11,000. His new employers have slightly higher cost plans. Average fees around 1.2%. He still contributes faithfully, never misses a year. At 65, David has roughly $1.1 million. Marcus has $680,000. Same discipline, same income, same years worked. The gap isn't Marcus being irresponsible. The gap is two job changes the economy essentially required, plus compounding fee drag, plus forfeited match money he earned through his labor and never received. That's $420,000. That's the cost of living a normal career in a modern economy, inside a system built for a workforce that no longer exists. Now, add the opportunity cost that never shows up in the retirement calculator. At 42, Marcus's neighborhood had a real estate correction. A duplex he'd had his eye on dropped to $310,000. He had $190,000 in his 401k. He couldn't touch it, not without a 10% penalty plus income taxes, effectively losing 30 to 40 cents of every dollar at his bracket. So he passed. That duplex is worth $620,000 today and cash flows $2,800 a month. The 401k didn't prevent that investment. It made accessing his own money so punitive that the math didn't work. His capital was working, just not for him. That's what locked away for retirement actually means when you're 40. And an opportunity requires liquidity. The money exists. You can see it, you just can't use it without the system extracting a penalty for your impatience. So, who actually profits from this arrangement? The financial services industry manages over $7 trillion in 401k assets. That's not charity. Fund companies collect expense ratios on every dollar, every year, in every market condition, up or down. Plan administrators charge record-keeping fees. Target date funds bundle costs. Your company's HR team gets simplified benefits administration. Investment firms get a captive recurring customer base of 70 million workers who are automatically enrolled and psychologically trained not to touch their accounts. The money keeps arriving every 2 weeks, regardless of market conditions. It is, from a business model perspective, nearly perfect. From your perspective, it's a vehicle you're required to fuel and forbidden to drive. And when it doesn't work, when someone retires underfunded, or cashes out during a crisis, or reaches 65 with $200,000 instead of $800,000, the system has a ready explanation. You didn't save enough. You withdrew early. You panicked and sold in 2020. You didn't rebalance. You weren't financially literate. You made bad choices. This is the most important thing to understand. So don't let it slide past you. When the average American household has less than $65,000 saved for retirement, that is not 50 million individual failures of discipline happening simultaneously. That is a structural outcome being narrated as a character flaw. The language of personal responsibility is doing the work of preventing structural accountability. Every person who feels ashamed about their retirement savings is one fewer person asking why the system was designed the way it was. If you're working inside the system, which almost all of us are, here's what actually moves the needle. Capture the full employer match before anything else. That return is immediate and guaranteed. Nothing else you can do with that money beats it. After that, pull up your plan's summary plan description and look at two numbers: the expense ratio on every fund you're holding and the total administrative fee. If the combined number exceeds 0.6%, move whatever you can to a low-cost IRA and keep the 401k contributions at match capture level only. Know your vesting schedule the way you know your lease terms. Before you accept a new offer, calculate what you'd be leaving on the table. That unvested match is real compensation. Factor it into salary negotiation, not as an afterthought. Build a financial runway separately from your retirement account. 12 months of living expenses in liquid, boring, accessible accounts, not a 401k loan, not a taxable brokerage on margin, actual cash, and short term instruments. Because the moment a real opportunity appears, a business, a distressed asset, a negotiating position with a bad employer, your runway is what gives you the standing to act. A 401k balance doesn't. A 401k balance is future use money. Runway is present use leverage. If you're in your late 40s or early 50s and genuinely considering an earlier exit from traditional employment, run the actual numbers on a Roth conversion ladder. It takes 5 years of planning, but it's one of the few legal mechanisms that lets you access retirement funds before 59 and a half without the penalty. The system put the door there. Most people never find it because no one in the system benefits from pointing to it. And if you're changing jobs, roll that balance immediately into a low-cost IRA. Not next quarter, not when you get around to it. Forgotten 401k accounts are a specific kind of financial damage that compounds silently. None of this defeats the system. The system is larger than any individual workaround, but operating inside it with precision is not the same as operating inside it naively. The 401k didn't steal your retirement. It transferred the risk of it to you, told you that was freedom, and then built a 40-year psychological architecture around the idea that leaving the desk before the number hits is failure. If your net worth is $900,000 and you can't take a year off to figure out what you actually want, what exactly is that $900,000 buying you?